Why, hello everybody, and welcome to our video today. We are talking about social structure and demographics, which is in behavioral science, chapter 11. So let's get started. First, in this chapter, one of the most important things are the social theories, okay? So we have a few social theories that we're going to go over. So the first one is functionalism. And in this theory, it more so focuses on the fact that each part of society plays a specific function to carry out the function of the society as a whole. So each individual person, all of each act that occurs, good and bad, all of these things, that is their function that plays that role to make our whole society work, okay? Then we have an example for this one, would be burglars and policemen and things of that nature. Even though some people might say, that's not necessarily a good aspect of society, the burglars. However, in this theory, you would look at them as being, okay, well, we need them to perform this function so that the rest of our society can function as a whole. So the police have a job and so that our society is structured and so on. So that's kind of how that functionalism theory looks at things. Then we have conflict theory, which talks about how groups compete for different resources. Okay, pretty self-explanatory. We have symbolic interactionism, which again is in the word, studies how individuals interact through a shared understanding, of certain symbols or things like that, a wave, a hello, those are shared not the hello part, but the symbols are, shared understanding of gestures that people have in a society. Then we have our rational choice theory, which focuses on the fact that individuals make decisions with maximum benefit and minimum harm. So they really weigh the pros and the cons, and they're talking about the most rational choice theory would be weighing out the benefits and the consequences of a decision and making a decision in that way. And then the last theory, social theory, is the feminist theory, which explores how one gender is subordinate to another, and again, pretty self-explanatory. So another important thing to note is microsociology is the study of expression, symbolic gestures, and the composition of and the components of society. Okay, so that's microsociology. Culture there's a few sub words under culture that we'll get into. The first thing to note is just in general, culture encompasses the lifestyle of a group. So there's material culture, which is defined by the physical objects that define a culture. And then there's also symbolic culture, which are the ideas and the values associated with a culture. And there can also be a cultural lag, which is the idea that material culture changes quicker than the symbolic culture, okay? And some other words that you should probably know the definitions of. Value is something that's deemed important by someone. A belief is something that someone considers to be true. A ritual is a formal ceremony of behavior including symbolism. And then norms are societal rules that define boundaries of what is acceptable, okay? And even though those words may seem self-explanatory, I would take a look at those definitions just so you're completely clear. If you were to be given a passage or something, you could really identify which one of these things they're talking about, okay? So the last part of this chapter deals with demographics, and the demographics is basically just the statistics of a population, birth rate, death rates, populations, mortality, things like that. So we first will know that fertility rate is the average number of children that a woman has in her lifetime. Mortality rate is the number of deaths per 1,000 people per year, and birth rate is the number of births per 1,000 people per year. And then you have urbanization, which is when a densely populated area has a pull for migration, okay? And then the last part here is a graph, okay, that has 4 stages on it. And the green line represents the birth rate. The purple line represents the death rate, and the orange line represents the total population, okay? And there are these 4 stages, okay? And this is demographic transition, which represents the deaths and birth rates of industrialization. So I'm gonna read off what those stages are. I do not have space to put them on the board. But in the first stage, we have a pre-industrial society, which the birth rates and the death rates are high. Okay, so that's in this first stage. You see both of those are very high, okay? Then we have stage 2, which calls for improvements to healthcare, where the deaths drop, okay? And then in stage 3, we have improvements to contraception and women's rights and things like that, which cause birth rates to then drop, okay? Which is in this third stage right here. And then in the fourth stage, we have an industrialized society where the birth rates and the death rates are low, okay? And this is where the total population is able to kind of rise by the end of this fourth stage, okay? So this is a demographic transition used for looking at the changes in birth rates and death rates for an overall industrialized society, okay? So that is it for our chapter on social structure and demographics. If you have any questions, please put them below, and please watch this video, learn these words and the definitions and all the theories, and you'll be good. So have a good night or morning, and I will talk to you soon.